Welcome back to the Art of Meaningful Connection, where we transform timeless wisdom into practical skills for today's world. I'm your host, Ling, and today we're beginning part 2 of our journey through Dale Carnegie's masterpiece, How to Win Friends and Influence People. If part 1 taught us the fundamentals of human interaction, avoiding criticism, giving sincere appreciation, and arousing eager wants, part 2 reveals the secrets of making people genuinely like you, and it all begins with what might be the most counterintuitive principle in human relations. Chapter 4 opens with a story that will change how you think about friendships forever. Carnegie writes, "Why read this book to find out how to win friends? Why not study the technique of the greatest winner of friends the world have ever known? Who is this master of human connection? You might meet him tomorrow coming down the street. When you get within 10 feet of him, he will begin to wag his tail. If you stop and pat him, he will almost jump out of his skin to show you how much he likes you. And behind this show-off affection, there are no ulterior motives. He doesn't want to sell you the real estate, and he doesn't want to marry you." Yes, Carnegie is talking about a dog, and this seemingly simple observation contains a profound truth that most of us miss completely. A dog makes his living by giving you nothing but love. Today, we'll explore why genuine interest in others is the fastest path to friendship, examine the psychology behind this principle, learn from master practitioners like Theodore Roosevelt and Howard Thurston, and discover practical techniques you can implement immediately. The principle we're exploring today has transformed businesses, saved marriages, and created lifelong friendships, even changed the course of career. By the end of our time together, you will understand why becoming genuinely interested in other people is not just a nice social skill, it's the foundation of all meaningful human connection. This is the Art of Meaningful Connection, and today we'll discover the secret every dog knows instinctively. Let's begin with Carnegie's personal story about Tippy, his childhood companion. When Carnegie was 5 years old, his father bought a little yellow-haired pup for 50 cents. Every afternoon around 4:30, Tippy would sit in the front yard, beautiful eyes staring at the path, waiting for Carnegie to return from school. As soon as Tippy heard Carnegie's voice or saw him swinging his dinner pail through the bush, he was off like a shot, racing breathlessly up the hill with leaps of joy and barks of pure ecstasy. Tippy was Carnegie's constant companion for 5 years, until a tragic night when he was killed by lightning just 10 feet from Carnegie's head. This childhood memory led Carnegie to a profound realization. You never read a book on psychology, Tippy. You didn't need to. You knew by some divine instinct that you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. Let me repeat that because it is so important. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get other people interested in you. The self-obsessions problem. Yet, most of us spend our lives doing exactly the opposite. We try to make people interested in us rather than becoming interested in them. And Carnegie has the research to prove it. The New York Telephone Company conducted a detailed study of telephone conversations to find out the most frequently used word. Can you guess what it was? The personal pronoun I. In 500 telephone conversations, I was used 3,900 times. That's nearly 8 times per conversation. It isn't surprising when you think about it. When you see a group of photographs that you're in, whose picture do you look for first? Your own, of course. We are naturally self-focused because we experience the world through our own consciousness. But here are the paradox. If we're merely trying to impress people and get them interested in us, we will never have many true, sincere friends. Real friends aren't made that way. The psychology of interest. Carnegie quotes Alfred Adler, the famous Viennese psychologist, who wrote, "It is the individual who is not interested in his fellow man who has the greatest difficulties in life and provides the greatest injury to others. It is from among such individuals that all human failures spring." This statement is so profound that Carnegie repeats it in italics. Think about what Adler is saying. The root of all human failure in relationship, business, leader, and even personal fulfillment can be traced back to a lack of genuine interest in others. Why is this true? Because humans are fundamentally social creatures. We evolved in tribes where cooperation and mutual care were essential for survival. When someone shows genuine interest in us, it triggers deep psychological satisfaction. We feel valued, understood, and important. Conversely, when someone is clearly focused only on themselves, we distinctively pull back. We sense that we are being used rather than appreciated, and this triggers our psychological defenses. The neurological basics. Modern neuroscience confirms what Carnegie observed decades ago. When someone shows genuine interest in us, several powerful neurological responses occur. Number 1, mirror neurons activated, created a sense of connections and empathy. Number 2, oxytocin releases, the bonding hormone that created feelings of trust and attachment. The reward center lights up, making the interaction intrinsically pleasurable. Number 4, stress hormones decrease, creating a sense of safety and openness. This is why a dog's enthusiastic greeting feels so good. It triggers all these positive neurological responses simultaneously. The universality of this need. Carnegie notes that even the most powerful people crave genuine interest from others. He mentioned Napoleon, who in this final meeting with Josephine said, "I've been as fortunate as many men ever was on this earth, and yet, at this hour, you are the only person in the world on whom I can rely." Think about that. The man who conquered most of Europe felt utterly alone because no one was genuinely interested in him as a person, only in what they could get from him. The same principle applies whether you're a factory worker, office clerk, or even a king upon his throne. We all crave genuine interest from others because it validates our fundamental worth as human beings. Now let's examine how master practitioners of this principle have used genuine interest to achieve extraordinary results. These aren't just feel-good stories, they are case studies in the power of authentic human connection. Howard Thurston, The Magician's Secret. Carnegie spent an evening in the dressing room of Howard Thurston, the acknowledged dean of magicians during his era. For 40 years, Thurstons have traveled the world mystifying audiences and making people gasp with astonishment. More than 60 million people had paid to see his shows, and he had made almost $2 million in profit, an enormous sum for that time. What were Thurston's secrets? It wasn't superior knowledge of magic. Hundreds of books had been written about the sleight of hand, and many people knew as much as he did technically. Thurston has two distinct advantages. First, he was a master showman who understood human nature. Every gesture, every intonation, every eyebrow lift was carefully rehearsed and timed to split second. But more importantly, Thurston had genuine interest in people. While many magicians would look at their audience and think, well, there's a bunch of suckers out there, a bunch of hicks, I will fool them all right. Thurston's approach was completely different. Every time he went on stage, he would say to himself, I'm grateful because these people come to see me. They make it possible for me to make my living in a very agreeable way. I'm going to give them the very best I possibly can. He never stepped in front of the footlights without first saying to himself over and over, I love my audience. I love my audience. Now, you might think this sounds ridiculous or absurd, but Carnegie simply passes it along as a recipe used by one of the most famous magicians of all time. The results speak for themselves. Theodore Roosevelt, the People's President. Theodore Roosevelt's astonishing popularity stemmed largely from his genuine interest in people at every level of society. Even his servants loved him. His valet, James E. Amos, wrote an entire book about him titled Theodore Roosevelt, Hero to His Valet. Amos shared this illuminating incident. My wife, once asked the president about a bobwhite. She had never seen one, and he described it to her fully. Sometimes later, our cottage phone rang. It was Mr. Roosevelt himself. He had called to tell her that there was a bobwhite outside her window and that if she would look out, she might see it. Think about this. The President of the United States took time from running this country to call a servant's wife about a bird. Whenever Roosevelt passed their cottage, even when they were out of sight, they would hear him call out, "Ooh, ooh, ooh, Amy," or "Ooh, ooh, ooh, James," just a friendly greeting as he went by. How could employees keep from liking a man like that? When Roosevelt visited the White House after leaving office, he greeted all the old servants by name, even the scullery maids. He asked Alice, the kitchen maid, if she still made cornbread. When she said she sometimes made it for the servant, but no one ate it upstairs, Roosevelt boomed, "They show bad taste. I will tell the president so when I see him." Alice brought him a piece on a plate, and he went to the office, eating it and greeting gardeners and laborers as he passed. Uncle George, creating a new life through interest. George Dyke of North Warren, Pennsylvania, demonstrate how genuine interest can transform even retirement. After 13 years running a service station, George was forced to retire when a new highway was built over his location. Instead of settling into idle retirement, George started playing his old fiddle and became interested in other musicians. He traveled the area, listening to music and talking with accomplished fiddlers. In his humble, friendly way, he became genuinely interested in learning the background and interest of every musician he met. Although he wasn't a great fiddler himself, he made countless friends through this pursuit. He attended competitions and became known throughout the eastern United States as Uncle George, the fiddle scraper from Kinzua County. At 72, he was enjoying every minute of his life. By maintaining sustained interest in other people, George created an entirely new life when most people consider their productive years over. His story shows that age is no barrier to building meaningful connections through genuine interest. The Sales Representative's Lessons. Edward M. Syke Jr., a sales representative for Johnson & Johnson, learned these principles power the hard way. He had an account at a drugstore in Hingham, Massachusetts, when he always made it a point to chat with the soda clerk and sales clerk before talking to the owner. One day, the owner told him to leave because he wasn't interested in Johnson & Johnson's products anymore, feeling the company was focusing on food and discount store at the expense of small drugstores. Syke left with his tail between his legs and drove around town for hours. Finally, he decided to return and at least try to explain their positions. As usual, he greeted the soda clerks and sales clerks before approaching the owner. This time, the owner smiled and welcomed him back, then gave him double the usual order. Surprised, Psych asks what has changed. The owner points to the young man at the soda fountain and explains that after Psych has left, the boy had said that Psych was one of the few salesmen who even bothered to say hello to him and the others in the store. If any salesperson deserved the business, it was Psych's. The story illustrates a crucial point. Genuine interest in people isn't just about the decision maker. Everyone matters, and everyone notices who treats them with respect and interest. The psychology behind the success. Why do these examples work so powerfully? Because they address fundamental human needs. The need to feel important. When people genuinely notice and remember us, we feel valued. The need for connection. Authentic interest creates real bonds between people. The need for respect. Treating people with interest shows basic human dignity. The need of appreciation. Genuine interest is a form of appreciation in action. This master practitioner understood that success in any field requiring human interactions depends more on your ability to connect with people than on technical skills alone. Now, let's explore how genuine interest doesn't just create friendships, it opens doors, builds loyalty, and can even transform business relationships in ways that seem almost miraculous. Carnegie's author strategy. Carnegie shared a brilliant example from his own experience teaching fiction writing at the Brooklyn Institute of Arts and Science. They wanted distinguished and busy authors like Kathleen Norris, Fannie Hurst, Ida Tarbell, Albert Patience Terhune, and Rupert Hughes to come and share their expertise. Instead of making typical requests focused on what they wanted, Carnegie and his students crafted letters saying they admired the author's work and were deeply interested in getting their advice and learning the secrets of their success. Each letter was signed by about 150 students. They acknowledged that these authors were busy, too busy to prepare formal lectures, so they enclosed a list of questions for the author to answer about themselves and their methods of work. The authors loved it. Who wouldn't? They left their homes and traveled to Brooklyn to give these students a helping hand. Using the same method, Carnegie persuaded Leslie M. Straw, Secretary of Treasury under Roosevelt, George W. Wickersham, Attorney General under Taft, William Jennings Bryan, Franklin D. Roosevelt, and many other prominent figures to speak to his classes. The power of thoughtful gesture. Carnegie practiced this principle personally by taking it to a point to remember his friends' birthdays. Although he had no faith in astrology, he would ask people whether they believed birth dates influence character and dispositions, then ask for their birthday. He would repeat the date to himself, write down when the person's back has turned, and transfer it to a birthday book. At the beginning of each year, He would schedule these dates in his calendar. When the birthday arrived, there was his letter or telegram. What a hit it made! He was frequently the only person on earth who remembered. This simple practice, requiring minimal effort but genuine thoughtfulness, created tremendous goodwill. The banking relationship. Genuine interest can create extraordinary customer loyalty. The National Bank of North America published a letter from depositor Madeleine Roosevelt. I would like you to know how much I appreciate your staff. Everyone was so courteous, polite, and helpful. What a pleasure it is, after waiting on a long line, to have the teller greet you pleasantly. She continued, Last year, my mother was hospitalized for 5 months. Frequently, I went to Mary Petruzzello, a teller. She was concerned about my mother and inquired about her progress. Is there any doubt that Miss Rosedale will continue using this bank? One employee genuine interest in a customer's personal situation created loyalty that no interest rate or promotion offer could match. The Stamp Collector Story. Charles R. Waters demonstrates how genuine interest can open the most tightly closed door. A banker assigned to prepare a confidential report on a corporation, Walter knew only one person who had the facts he needed, the company's president. Using his first visit, a young woman mentioned to the president that she didn't have stamps for him that day. The president explained he was collecting stamps for his 12-year-old son. When Walters began asking questions, the president was vague and unwilling to talk. The interview was brief and unproductive. Frankly, I didn't know what to do, Walters admitted. Then I remembered what his secretary had said. Stamps. I also recalled that the foreign department of our bank collected stamps from letters pouring in from every continent. The next afternoon, Walters returned with stamps for the boy. Was he welcomed with enthusiasm? Absolutely. The president couldn't have been more excited if she had been running for Congress. She radiated smiles and goodwill, saying, My George will love this one, as he examined each stamp. They spent half an hour talking stamps and looking at pictures of the boy. Then the president devoted more than an hour giving Walters every bit of information he wanted, without even being asked. He told Walters everything he knew, called in subordinates to question them, telephoned associates, and loaded Walter down with facts, figures, reports, and correspondence. In the newspaper terms, Walter had scored a scoop, all because he showed genuine interest in what mattered to the president. The ancient wisdom. This isn't a new discovery. 100 years before Christ, the Roman poet Publius Cyrus observed, We are interested in others when they are interested in us. The principle is timeless because it's based on a fundamental human psychology. When someone shows genuine interest in us, we naturally reciprocate. When someone focuses only on their own agenda, we instinctively resist. Now we need to address the crucial questions. What makes interest genuine versus manipulative? And how do we apply this principle authentically in our daily lives? The sincerity requirement. Carnegie emphasized that a show of interest, like every principle of human relations, must be sincere. It must benefit both the person showing interest and the person receiving attention. It's a two-way street where both parties gain value. This distinction is crucial because people have remarkably accurate authenticity detector. We can sense when someone is genuinely curious about us versus when they are just going through the motions to get something they want. Martin Ginsberg's hospital story. Carnegie shared a powerful example of authentic interest from Martin Ginsberg's childhood. At 10 years old, Martin was in a welfare ward of a city hospital, scheduled for major orthopedic surgery on Thanksgiving Day. His father was dead, his mother couldn't visit, and they were living alone on welfare. As the day progressed, Martin became overwhelmed with loneliness, despair, and fear. He knew his mother was home alone, worried about him, without anyone to be with or enough money for Thanksgiving dinner. He cried silently under his pillow, his body racking with pain. A young student nurse heard his sobbing and came over. She took the cover off his face and started wiping his tears. Then she did something extraordinary. She told him how lonely she was, having to work that day instead of being with her family. She asked if he could have dinner with her. She bought 2 trays of food, sliced turkey, mashed potatoes, cranberry sauce, and ice cream for dessert. She talked with him and tried to calm his fears. Even though she was scheduled to go off duty at 4 p.m., she stayed on. She stayed on her own time until almost 11 p.m., playing games and talking until he fell asleep. Martin writes, "Many Thanksgivings have come and gone since I was 10, but one never passed without me remembering that particular one and my feelings, frustrations, fear, loneliness, and the warmth and tenderness of the stranger that somehow made it all bearable." This nurse doesn't show interest to get something from a 10-year-old boy. She showed genuine human compassion and interest because she recognized a fellow human being in pain. That's the difference between authentic and manipulative interest. Practical application in daily life. Let's explore how to apply this principle across different areas of life. In professional settings, customer service. Instead of rushing through transactions, take a moment to notice something about the customer. Perhaps they are buying flowers for someone special or seem stressed about purchase. A genuine comment or questions can transform a routine transaction into a positive experience. Team management. Rather than only discussing work projects, show interest in your team members as people. Ask about their weekend plans. Remember their important events. Notice when they seem stressed or excited about something. Networking events. Instead of immediately launching into your elevator pitch, ask questions about the other person's work, challenges, or interests. People are much more likely to want to help someone who has shown genuine curiosity about them. In personal relationships, parenting, when your child comes home from school, instead of immediately asking about homework, show interest in their day. What was the best part of your day? Who did you sit with at lunch? What made you laugh today? Marriage and partnerships. Make a conscious effort to ask your partner about things that matter to them, even if they don't particularly interest you. If they are passionate about gardening and you are not, asking questions about what they're growing, what challenges they are facing, and what they're excited about. Friendships. Remember details from previous conversations and follow up. If a friend mentioned a job interview last week, ask how it went. If they were worried about their parents' health, check in about it. In community interactions, neighbors. Take time to learn your neighbors' names and something about their lives. Asking about their gardens, their pets, their family. These small interactions build community and makes everyone's lives richer. Service providers. Show interest in the people who help you. Your barista, postal worker, hairstylist. Remember their names, asking how their day is going. Notice when they seem to be having a particularly good or difficult time. The Digital Age Challenge. In our increasingly digital world, showing genuine interest becomes both more important and more challenging. Social media creates the illusions of connections while often preventing real interest and engagement. Email and text. Instead of purely transactional messages, include personal touches. Hope your daughter's soccer game went well, or thinking of you as you navigate this busy season. Social media. Rather than just liking posts, leave thoughtful comments that show you actually paid attention to what the person shared. Ask follow-up questions about their experiences. Video calls. In our remote work environment, take a few minutes at the beginning of calls to check in on people as humans, not just as work colleagues. The long-term perspective. Genuine interest isn't a quick technique for immediate results. It's a lifestyle approach that builds cumulative benefits over time. People remember who showed authentic interest in them, often for years or even decades. The nerds in Martin Ginsburg's story probably had no idea how profoundly her simple act of interest would impact him. But decades later, he still remembered and was still grateful. When you show genuine interest in others, you're not just improving that moment, you're potentially creating positive memories and feelings that last a lifetime. The reciprocal nature. Remember Publius' serious observations? We are interested in others when they are interested in us. This principle creates positive feedback loops. When you show genuine interest in someone, they are naturally inclined to reciprocate, creating deeper, more meaningful relationships for both parties. The principle of showing genuine interest sounds simple. Many people struggle to implement it consistently. Let's address the common obstacle and explore how to make this a natural part of your personality. The self-absorption trap. The biggest obstacle is our own natural tendency toward self-focused. We are constantly thinking about our own problems, goals, and concerns. This isn't selfishness, it's human nature. We're experiencing the world through our own consciousness, so our perspective naturally centers on ourselves. The solution isn't to eliminate self-awareness, but to consciously expand our awareness to include others. Think of it like adjusting a camera lens. You are widening the frame to include more of the scenes. The busy life syndrome. Many people say they don't have time to show interest in others. They are rushing from meeting to meeting, task to task, always focused on the next item on their to-do list. But showing genuine interest doesn't require extra time. It requires redirected attention. Instead of thinking about your next meeting while talking to someone, focus completely on that person for those few minutes. Quality of attention matters more than quantity of time. The introversion challenge. Introverts often worry that showing interest in others requires being outgoing and talkative. This is a misconception. Some of the most genuinely interested people are quiet listeners who ask thoughtful questions and remember what people tell them. Introverts often have an advantage because they are naturally inclined to listen rather than talk. Use this strength by asking follow-up questions and creating space for others to share. The fear of rejection. Some people hesitate to show interest because they worried about being rebuffed or appearing noisy. While it's true that not everyone will be receptive, most people appreciate genuine interest when it's offered respectfully. Start with safe, universal topics and let the other person's response guide you. If someone seems uncomfortable, simply back off. No harm done. The authenticity concern. Some worry that consciously practicing this principle makes them manipulative or fake. But choosing to focus on others isn't being fake. It's being intentional about creating positive interactions. Think of it like learning to play piano. At first, you'll consciously think about every note. With practice, it's become natural and automatic. The same applies to showing genuine interest in others. Specific techniques for different situations. In meetings and professional settings, arrive a few minutes early to have genuine conversations before the meeting starts. Ask colleagues about their weekend plans or how their family is doing. Remember and follow up on personal things people have shared. Send thank you notes that mention specific contributions or qualities you appreciate. In casual social interactions, ask open-ended questions that invite storytelling. What has been the highlight of your month? Instead of, how are you? Share the conversational space. Ask questions, listen to answer. Ask follow-ups before sharing your own experiences. Remember names and use them in conversations. Notice changes. New haircut, seems particularly happy, appears stressed, and ask caring questions. In-service interactions. Learn the names of people who regularly serve you. Your barista, postal worker, security guard. Ask how their day is going and actually listen to the answer. Thank people specifically for what they do. I really appreciate how you always have my coffee ready exactly how I like it. Remember personal details they've shared and ask about them. With family and close friends, put away devices when talking with family members. Ask about their interests, even if they don't particularly interest you. Remember important dates and events in their lives. Show curiosity about their opinions, dreams, and concerns. Advanced techniques. Number 1. The story invitation. Instead of asking how was your day, which often gets a one-word answer, try what was the most interesting part of your day, or tell me about something that made you smile today. These questions invite storytelling rather than brief response. The empathy bridge. When someone shares a challenge or concern, resist the urge to immediately offer solutions or share your own similar experience. Instead, ask questions that help you understand their perspective. How did that make you feel? Or what has been the hardest part about this situation? The celebration amplifier. When someone shares good news, don't just say that's great. Ask questions that help them relive and savor the experience. What was it like when you found out? Or who was the first person you wanted to tell? Pitfall prevention checklist. Before we move to our final segment, let's review common mistakes to avoid. Don't ask personal questions just to have ammunition for later manipulation. Don't show interest only in people who can benefit you professionally. Don't forget to follow up on important things people have shared. Don't make everything about you after asking about them. Don't fake enthusiasm for things that clearly don't interest you. Do ask questions because you're genuinely curious about the answers. Do show equal interest in people regardless of their status or usefulness to you. Do remember and check in about things that matters to others. Do keep the focus on them even when they try to turn it back to you. Do find something genuinely interesting about every person you meet. Carnegie reminds us that you can make more friends in 2 months by becoming genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get people interested in you. This isn't just a nice idea. It's a practical formula for transforming your relationship and your life. As we conclude our explorations of becoming genuinely interested in other people, I want you to remember Tippy, Carnegie's little yellow-haired companion, who instinctively knew the secret to friendship. That secret isn't complex strategies or clever techniques. It's the simple, profound act of caring about others. The key takeaways. Today, we've discovered that, first, genuine interest is the fastest path to meaningful relationship. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming interested in others than in 2 years trying to get others interested in you. Second, this principle works because it addresses fundamental human needs, the need to feel valued, understood, and important. When you show authentic interest in someone, you're giving them a gift that money can't buy. Third, the obstacles to growing genuine interest aren't insurmountable. Self-absorptions, busy schedules, and fear of rejections can all be overcome with conscious practice and the right techniques. Fourth, master practitioners like Theodore Roosevelt and Howard Thurston achieve extraordinary success, not despite their interest in others, but because of it. Their genuine care for people became their greatest professional asset. I want to make you a promise. If you genuinely commit to showing authentic interest in others for the next 30 days, your relationships will transform in ways that will surprise you. You will find that people seek you out for conversations. Colleagues become genuine friends. Family relationships deepen. Even brief interactions become more meaningful. You feel more connected and fulfilled. This isn't magic. It's the natural result of treating people like they matter, because they do. I will leave you with this thought about Carnegie. I will leave you with this thought from Carnegie. You can make more friends in 2 months by becoming genuinely interested in other people than you can in 2 years by trying to get the other people interested in you. That principle isn't just about friendship. It's about creating a life rich with meaningful connections, where you walk through the world knowing that you've made others feel valued, understood, and important. Every person you meet is fighting a battle you know nothing about, carrying dreams you have never heard, and hoping someone will care enough to really see them. You have the power to be that someone. You have the ability to transform not just your own life, but the lives of people you encounter. Start today. Start with the next person you see. Show genuine interest. Ask thoughtful questions. And remember what they tell you. Watch as your world transforms, one authentic conversation at a time. This is the art of meaningful connection. I'm your host, Lin, reminding you that every day is an opportunity to brighten someone's world simply by caring about their story. Until next week, keep connecting, keep caring, and keep growing. The world needs more people like you, people who understand that genuine interest in others isn't just a social skill, it's a way of making life more meaningful for everyone. Take care, and I will see you next week for the incredible power of a smile.